Please, the net. I think my network is quite it's not good tonight. So let's just continue from here. So we're talking about so Joseph was in Potiphar's house, okay, and we're told that Potiphar's wife fell in love, but lusted after Joseph. She began to lust after him and asked him to sleep with her. Okay? And we're told that Joseph refused. He refused. And he told her, he said, my master has put everything in my care. In fact, he doesn't know what he has and what he does not have. There is no one greater in this house than I. No one is greater than me. And he has not kept back anything from me except you, because you are his wife. And he asked her, he said, how then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? Okay. So I want to point out that on our journey to destiny, there are three major temptations that we will need to overcome: greed, lust, and pride. Greed, lust, and pride. Now, Joseph was not guilty of any of these. He was not greedy, because if he was a greedy man, I mean, everything Potiphar had was in his care. Potiphar did not know what he had and what he did not have. So that would have been a perfect opportunity, a perfect environment for Joseph to steal as much as he can, to sell as much as he can. If he was a greedy man, he would have stolen. Potiphar didn't know how many cattle he had. He didn't know how much food he had. He didn't know how everything was in Joseph's care. It was Joseph that would tell him, this is how much food is left. This is how many cattle you have now. This is this. This is that. So if Joseph was a greedy man, a greedy young man, what would have happened would have been that he would have maybe stolen, and then he would have sold the ones he could sell, and he would have enriched himself off of Potiphar's goods. But he did not do that, because he was not greedy. He served Potiphar faithfully. He was honest. He was upright in his service to Potiphar. Okay? And he was not lustful. Of course, he was not lustful, and that's the reason why he could say no to Potiphar's wife. If it were to be some people, some men, the woman will not need to come. In fact, they will be the ones lusting after her. From the day they step into the house, I'm sure Potiphar's wife must have been beautiful. From the day they step into the house, they see the woman, they will start lusting after her. And if for any reason an opportunity comes up like that, and she tells him, come and sleep with me, they will jump at the opportunity. They will jump at the opportunity. In fact, she would not need to finish the sentence. Okay. They would jump at the opportunity. But Joseph was not lustful. So when the woman said, come and sleep with me, he could say no. He said, no, I cannot. And the third thing, he was not proud. One thing pride does is that it makes you feel that you are equal to your superior. It makes you feel that you are worth more than you actually are. Okay? It makes you have this inflated view of self. Okay, that is one thing pride does. And if Joseph was proud, then by all means, he would have slept with Potiphar's wife, because he would feel that he would have seen himself as equal to his master. Okay, he would have seen himself as equal to Potiphar. And so he would not have hesitated to sleep with Potiphar's wife, but he was not proud. And so see the reply he gave to her. He said, how then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? So first of all, he understood that first that would have been an act of great wickedness. He understood that fact, that doing that would have been an act of great wickedness. To man now, not to God, to man. Okay, because Potiphar was a man who loved him. He was a slave to Potiphar because Potiphar bought him from the Ishmaelites. But Potiphar did not treat him like a slave. Okay? Potiphar did not treat him like a slave. We're studying Genesis chapter 39 and we're talking about Joseph and Potiphar's wife. Joseph in Potiphar's house. Okay? Potiphar did not treat him like a slave. Imagine Potiphar put everything in his house into Joseph's care. He made Joseph the general overseer of his entire estate. The man loved him. Imagine a situation where the man did not bother to know what he had and what he did not have. He said he did not keep back anything from Joseph. There was nothing that Joseph needed that Potiphar was not willing to give to him, except his wife. Now imagine a man who loved him so much. And then now imagine Joseph now going to sleep with Potiphar's wife. That would have been an act of betrayal, a wicked act. A very wicked act. He said, how then can I do this great wickedness? So he understood first that it would have been a wicked act, okay, against man. And then he added, and sin against God. So he understood that first it would have been a wicked act, okay, against man, and it was also a sin against God. He would also have sinned against God. Okay. I want to point out now when he talked about sin, how can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? He made that statement because he feared God. It is one thing to love God. It is another thing to fear God. The reason why people can boldly sin, the reason why people can see sin, see that this thing is sin, it is wrong, and boldly do it, is because they do not fear God. They may love him, but they don't fear him. And loving him is not enough. Loving him should go hand in hand with fearing him. You should love him and fear him. Remember, he's your father, but he's also your God. He's your father, but he's also your God. He is love, but he's also a consuming fire. So we should love him and we should fear him. There are certain things that you would not do. You just cannot do it because you fear God. So you don't care what happens to you. You don't care what man does to you. You're ready to put up with any consequences that man may dish out to you, as long as you do not sin against God. That is the fear of God. And we need to have that fear of God. It is important that we have the fear of God, not just the love for God. Okay. I pray that the Lord will help us to fear him. And then we're told that in verse 10, that Potiphar, verse 10 says, and it came to pass as she spake to Joseph day by day, that he hearkened not unto her, to lie by her or to be with her. She made his life torture. She tormented him every day. I can only imagine how uncomfortable she must have made the house for him. She said, we're told that she spake to Joseph day by day. So it was a daily disturbance. Each time she saw him, she kept on disturbing him, kept on pressuring him, kept on. We don't know for how long this continued. We don't know for how long this lasted. It may have been 3 months. It may have been 6 months. It may have been 1 year. Okay. We don't know for how long this lasted. But we're told that she spake to Joseph day by day. Despite it, despite that pressure, Joseph never gave in. He never gave in. We don't know for how long it lasted, but Joseph never gave in. Okay, say, he hearkened not unto her. He did not listen. He refused to even entertain that thought. He did not say, no, this pressure is too much. Let me just give in and so I can have my peace. There was never a time when he, it now dawned on him that she was actually a beautiful woman and perhaps it wouldn't be such a bad idea if he actually slept with her. It never happened. He hearkened not unto her. He did not even give it a second thought. Despite the daily pressure she put on him, she mounted on him, he never gave in. That is how we need to be. We need to be resolute and unflinching in the face of sin. Be resolute, be unflinching in the face of sin. It's not easy to be like Joseph. I admire him a lot. He's one Bible character, okay, whom I love so much, and I aspire to be like Joseph. Imagine someone who was far from home. He was far from home. Where he was the only member of his family there. Could have done it, as some people say in this part of the world, they say chop and clean mouth. After all, who is gonna know? Who will know? Who's gonna know? The woman definitely would not have said it because her marriage would have been in jeopardy. So he could have done it for God knows how long, unless he's caught one day. But who's gonna know? If he had decided to do it, he could have done it for God knows how long. But he never gave in. He never gave in. Even if his boss may never have found out, but he knew that there was one who saw him. There was one who was watching him, who would see, who would know. And that was the person he feared most, God. So he never flinched. He remained resolute and unflinching in that face of pressure. Despite the mounting pressure, he never caved. That is how we need to be. We need to be like Joseph. Be resolute, be unflinching, okay? In the face of sin, in the face of mounting pressure. Pray that the Lord will help you, that the Lord will give you the grace. In Jesus Christ's name. Now, I want to also say this, that you cannot fulfill destiny in your comfort zone. If you must fulfill destiny, then you have to leave your comfort zone. It is imperative that if you must fulfill destiny, you must leave your comfort zone. I don't know of anyone who ever fulfilled destiny in their comfort zone. Okay? Joseph had to leave his comfort zone. The first comfort zone he had to leave was his house. Okay? His land, his family. That was his first comfort zone. He was just a boy of 17 years old. He was just a boy of 17. He had to leave. He had to be pulled out of his comfort zone, out of his home, out of his family. And then here he was in Pharaoh's house, in Potiphar's house. He must have gotten comfortable there, very comfortable, because he was the second in command. After Potiphar, he was next in charge. He was the next person in charge. In fact, he was even more in charge, if I'll say, than Potiphar, because he was the one who was, give the commands to the servants, do this, do that, is this okay? Is this has this been done? Why has this not been done? Get this done, do this. Potiphar just relaxed and went about his duties as captain of the guard. Okay? But in the house, Joseph was the one in command, in charge. Joseph. So he must have gotten super comfortable there. Everything he needed, he had. He was the highest in rank after Pharaoh. After Potiphar. Why do I keep saying Pharaoh? After Potiphar in the house. So he must have gotten comfortable. But then that comfort could not be. He could not fulfill destiny if he was comfortable. And so Potiphar's wife had to make his life uncomfortable, you know, begin to put pressure. He had to, you know, so he now began to feel a little heat. His life was no longer as comfortable as it used to be. You know, slowly that place of comfort was becoming uncomfortable for him, which was necessary. Okay, which was necessary. And so we're told that Potiphar's wife kept bothering him, kept disturbing him, but he never caved, he never gave in. Okay? And then we're told that in verses 11 and 12, see, and it came to pass that, okay, now, one of those days, Joseph went into the house to do his own business. Okay, and unfortunately that day, there was none of the men, none of the servants were in the house. So it was just Joseph and Potiphar's wife in there. So the woman finally got the opportunity that she was looking for. And what did she do? When she saw him, she said, "Finally, I have caught you. It is just both of us. Lie with me, sleep with me." And Joseph refused. And she grabbed his coat, you know, his clothing he was wearing. She grabbed it. Okay. And what did he do? We're told, sir, and he left his garment in her hand and fled and got him out. And he left his garment in her hand and fled and got him out. You know, there's somewhere in the Bible, in the New Testament, we're told that we're told to flee, okay, from the very appearance of evil. Okay, but if you have that capacity to flee at the appearance of evil, at the appearance of sin, then you must have resolved prior to that time not to give in to sin. I don't know if we understand the point I'm trying to make. Joseph was resolved that he would never, under any circumstance, do that great wickedness and sin against God. He had resolved, and that was why, despite the pressure she mounted on him, he never caved, he never gave in. It was something that he had resolved never to do. And so when the temptation, when it came to that point, okay, when it came to that point where you know, if he had not, because other times it was just a case of she was just using her mouth, like, sleep with me, but this time around she grabbed him, sleep with me. Okay, but because he had resolved prior to that time, he did not give in. We're told that he left his coat with her. He ran and got out of the house. One thing I want to say, the tip I'll give for dealing with temptation is run before you think. Run before you think. Okay? Run before you think. There's a great man of God in here in Nigeria. Okay, he's a wonderful apostle of Jesus Christ. Okay, and he told a story. Okay, in one of his sermons, he said, he said there was one time when I think he went to visit a lady, or a lady came to visit him or something. I can't really remember, but what eventually happened was that the lady stripped herself naked. Okay, she stripped naked in front of him to seduce him. And he said that he had already run about 100 meters before he realized that he was running. He's not a good runner, according to him. He's not a good runner under normal circumstances. But that day, he didn't even know when he ran. He did not even stop to think before running. He said it was when he had gotten to a far distance that was when he realized that he had been running, and he had run such a great distance. That's one man of God I really admire too, because he's a determined follower of Jesus Christ. Okay, so think before, what am I saying? Run before you think. When you're faced with temptation, run before you think. Because if you decide to think before running, you may end up never running. If you decide to think before you run, you may end up never running. You won't know when you find yourself deep into that sin. Okay, so run before you think. Let it be that you've gotten to your destination, or you've gotten as far away as possible before you even stop to think and say, what happened? That woman just tried to rape me, or she grabbed my coat, or whatever, but you know that you're already a safe distance away from that temptation. Okay, I pray that the Lord will help us. I know it's not easy to resist temptation, but by the grace of God, it is possible. Okay, I pray that the Lord will give us the grace to resist temptation, to run before we think when faced with temptation. Okay, may the Lord help us. And then we're told in verses from verse 13 to 15, when she saw that Joseph had run and he had left his coat with her, what then did she do? She began to shout. She called the men of the house, the other men, the men of the house, the servants and all of them. And she said, see, my husband has brought this Hebrew boy to mock us. See, he came to me to try to force himself on me, to try to sleep with me. And I shouted. And when he heard that I shouted, he said he left his coat, he left his garment with me and fled and ran. Now, are you seeing the picture she painted? See how she twisted the whole thing to make Joseph look guilty. See the picture she painted, a wrong picture, a false picture. Now, sometimes doing the right thing can land you in trouble, in unpleasant situations, but it doesn't matter. Remember, only one person matters. Only one person's validation matters, and that is God's. Only one person should be feared, and that is God. So sometimes when you do the right thing, you end up in trouble. Sometimes when you do the right thing, you end up in an unpleasant situation. But never regret doing the right thing. Never regret making the right choice. Only one person matters and should be feared, and that is God. It doesn't matter if you get in trouble with man, as long as God is happy with you. That is all that should matter. Okay? And I want to also, another thing, okay. Now, we're told that after she said, she told this to the men of the house. And then what did she do? In verse 16, we're told that she laid up his garment by her until his Lord came home. Imagine, she kept the garment close to her side until her husband Potiphar came back home.